Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with our Midweek Magic Event, and it looks like once again we're jumping into Historic Pauper. Nice! As always, I'm ready for a Pauper, so let's go ahead, let's not waste any more time, we're going to jump right into the deck. The Ninja Way. This is a mono blue tempo ninja deck that we're going to be playing for the event. Real quick, the reason why we're doing this whole thing is because we have just enough ninjas where we can just snowball out of control and beat our opponent before they have a chance to beat and do anything to us. Real quick, as you can see, we have a lot of 4-drops, but obviously if you've seen one of our previous deck techs where we had a budget ninja deck, the whole focus was not to pay, of course, full price for these ninjas. You want to try to bring them in for their ninjutsu cost. One more time for those of you who are a little new to this, ninjutsu basically just lets you put in one of these ninjas into play tapped and attacking as long as the creature that's attacking first is not blocked. So, for example, if we say had in our Fairy Miscreant and then we swing with it, if it's not blocked, then we can play for 2 mana instead of 4 with our ninjutsu ability, Ninja the Deep Hours, which gets it in for cheap and then starts going off from there. That's basically, again, the whole game plan to the deck. To support that, of course, besides the Fairy Miscreant that I just told you about, we also have Fairy Seer, scries 2 when it enters the battlefield. So say imagine that this card swings and then it's not blocked, then we bounce it back, bring out our Ninja the Deep Hour to swing, get some damage, we then draw a card, and then we can recast later on Fairy Seer, which allows us to scry 2, and then keeps the loop going of fixing our draws to make sure we get exactly what we need into our hand. But we obviously are going to need some ways to protect this whole game plan, so we have cards like Make Disappear, really cool. The casualty ability may seem like it's a little detrimental of sacrificing our ninjas, but you mostly want to sacrifice instead the fairies if you have to, and one particular card can help us make sure that we can maximize this, which we'll talk about in just a second. But otherwise, the other ways to protect our whole game plan is we have copies of Spell Pierce, we have Unsummon, which can work either to bounce back our ninjas and protect them, or bounce away as a tempo play their cards, so make sure we don't have a way of dealing with blockers at all. Otherwise, other things we can do is we have to deal with bigger creatures. We have Bind the Monster. And then, of course, we can also use this as our flex tempo play. You see a guard approach. Originally, I will say, in the gameplay you're about to see, we had what was recommended, which is Lantern Bearer. But it's not like this was a bad card, but honestly, it just felt very slow for our game plan, and it just felt like we were kind of playing off curve just to make this card work. So if you actually want to play this, the personal version that I would say is get instead you see a guard approach, because you can either give hexproof to one of your creatures or taps one of your opponent's creatures, so that way it gets it out of the play, and then we can just start swinging without having to deal with blockers, as I mentioned earlier. As far as the ninjas we're using, Moon Circuit Hacker, bring this in, lets us draw a card, or we discard a card if it did not enter the battlefield this turn. We also have Moonblade Shinobi, where if it does damage, we can then create 1/1 Flying Illusions, which this is where the casualty ability for Make Disappear makes this a lot more better to use. We have Moon Snare Specialist, which when it enters the battlefield, returns the target creature to its owner's hand. And of course, the Big Daddy himself, Ninja of the Deep Hours. 20 islands is all you need, and 2 Lonely Sandbars. Some may argue you might want a full playset. I usually skew only 2 at max because I don't want to have a tap land on my turn 2 or 3 play, which would throw off the tempo options that we have for the deck. But otherwise, that's basically it. Nothing really crazy that I want to mention for this deck. If you've played tempo decks before, if you played ninja decks before, this would be pretty straightforward. There are some pretty tricky plays to this, but even at common level, I will tell you right now, it can get pretty spicy and pretty out of control if your opponent does not have ways of answering our creatures. If you do like the content that I give you, please make sure to give a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so you can enjoy all the deck techs, booster pack openings, gameplay, and so much more. And I really would appreciate any and all support you give me. But enough of me talking, let's go ahead now and dive right into the games. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!